What is going on, Rotogrinders? Dean here. It's Dean 78904. That is the daily fantasy handle around the industry. 5:20 on the East Coast, 2:20 West Coast, 4:20 Tennessee time. So, of course, that means it's time for the flagship show here at Rotogrinders. It is called Grinderslive. Joining me today, you know him from his fabulous prize picks on the old Twitter machine. And we're gonna promise the people we'll give him some prize picks at some point throughout the show as well too. Of course, we're gonna hammer a lot of DFS as well. That is the main. That's the main crux of the show, the NBA DFS slate, the 10 gamer. Chief, Will, how are things in your world? How excited are we for the it's a big one, man. A lot going down tonight.
I'm not muted. I'm just nodding in agreement that it is a big one. Definitely excited for this one. One of the things that, and I'm going to run something back here on prize picks because Dean called me out on Thursday. On Thursday, it wasn't a call out. It was really more of a, man, this slate's bad. Dean says, and I quote, this showdown slate is bad when Chief is giving you out defensive tackle props. and while that may have seemed funny, initially I didn't think about it because I really just wanted to shake things up, right? I want to give the people something that's fresh, something that's new. And if you were tracking those props, I went 2 for 3 that night. And I got, the only reason we missed the 3 for 3 is Noah Fant's running down the sideline. He doesn't get tackled. He gets like nudged out of bounds and they call it a tackle. And so that takes us from 4 to 5, which is, clearly over 4.5. At any rate, I'm going to tell you right now, people, you're going to see a lot more tackle props from me. I think those are some of the most, because it's all about attacking the lines, right? Some of the most inefficient props that we have in the industry. I mean, that guy that ended up with 5 instead of, under 4.5, he's only hit it 2 out of 7 games. So if he comes back up again, I'll just fire it right back up. The odds are in my favor. At any rate, really excited.
I got some breaking news, by the way. Not to cut you off or anything, just some breaking news here. This is very, very big as far as the slate. One of the body parts we were monitoring going in. Bradley Beal, he's got both a groin and a hip. And because of that, he's not playing basketball tonight. He's officially out. He was essentially doubtful, but I'll get the rest of the body parts in a second. But what's your reaction to that? We're going to be talking about Spencer Dinwiddie and Kyle Kuzma a good bit, I suppose.
Well, my first reaction is I'm very disappointed in myself. Usually I'm ahead of this stuff on props and prize picks. And typically I'll go ahead and hammer the early lines when there's any whiff of an injury. I'll get the line before it moves. And I missed out on that today. And so I'm disappointed. I did get the Drummond line. Whether Embiid plays or not, I still think he can get there. But from a traditional DFS perspective, whether it's DraftKings or FanDuel, these guys are going to be some of the highest point per dollar plays on the board. If you're on DraftKings, you're going to see that Kyle Kuzma currently, at least with our current projections, 6.42 points per dollar in terms of his projection. 5,700 projected for 36.61 fantasy points. Spencer Dinwiddie, 5,600 projected for 35.83 fantasy points, right behind him at 6.4. You've got Kentavious Caldwell-Pope at 3,500, and while his projection isn't astronomical, because he's 3,500, he's at 6.48. That's DraftKings. If you hop on over to FanDuel, fairly similar situation where Kuzma is the leading guy right now at 6.21, 5,600 projected for 34 fantasy points. And then you've got KCP, 3,900 projected for 22 at 5.72. Different scoring, different, things like that. And then you've got Spencer Dinwiddie at 5.49, 6.2K, projected for 34.04. I do think if this game is close, Spencer Dinwiddie starts getting in that 38 to 40 range. Same thing I think Kyle Kuzma is probably closest to right as anybody. I think 35, 36, could be 37, could be 40, but I think he's close. But Spencer Dinwiddie, I do think he's probably, in my opinion, the most likely guy to go 40 plus.
Yeah, my only concern, and we'll talk about that game specifically soon enough, obviously. My only concern with Dinwiddie is the minutes. He's coming off an injury, and he has played with 20 minutes or so in the preseason, 20, 25 or so. And last game he played, 26, 27, 28. And he's fine at 29, 30, but I don't know if he's going to push the 35. Will be interesting to see how that goes. But, he's got a pretty good price, and the matchup is phenomenal. Also, an Aaron Holiday revenge game against his brother still on this team? Yeah, Justin Holiday still there too. So for what it's worth, double revenge, brother revenge, but also he may jump into that starting lineup for Beal. Who knows? We'll see. It's a 10-game slate. I don't know how much you need to dig into guys like KCP or Aaron Holiday, low usage guys, but just kind of sort of note, I suppose. The rest of the bottom parts are monitoring. You kind of alluded to it. We have Joel Embiid. He's questionable with the knee. He was seen with a big old wrap on it in practice. My first thought was like, this is an ESPN game, right? And we know all the noise around Ben Simmons. We know all the noise around Kyrie. And this is like, they're both not playing. Like, there's no way Embiid's not playing this game. But if he's legit carrying an injury, worth monitoring. But I assume he plays, but stay tuned on that. 7:30 is the clock on that one. Indiana just played an 8-man rotation last time out, for what it's worth. The tightest rotation I think we saw amongst every single team so far. Lamb is questionable with his wrist. Holiday, that's Justin Holiday, questionable with an ankle. And Torrey Craig has a shoulder, so he's questionable. Terry Rozier, your boy, 98% chance he'll play. That was the report there on the old Twitter. So he's probable. Taj Gibson's still out for personal reasons. Al Horford's got the health protocols. He's still questionable. Which one, Taj or?
Thank God Taj is out. I don't need him screwing up my props with Mitchell Robinson tonight. When he comes back and Tim decides to play him 30 minutes and Mitch Robinson 15 minutes. Good golly.
Horford's still questionable. We'll see if he goes. Not really sure. Richardson expected back. So Boston, a little bit more depth. He had a migraine last time out. And Josh Hart is out with a quad for New Orleans. Darius Garland's questionable with an ankle. Mo Harkless is questionable with a hip. Back-to-backs. Nobody on the back end of a back-to-back, but there are some teams in the front end just worth throwing out there. San Antonio, Phoenix, Chicago, New Orleans, Toronto, Indiana, all on the front end of a back-to-back. We're going to dive in and break this down game by game in just a second. Do you want to say what's up to the chat? What up, chat? Do you like? Do you subscribe? Do you turn on notifications? Do ask some questions. Fire off some questions. Fabulous multitasking producer extraordinaire Devin will be compiling those questions, joining the show later, asking us those questions, and give us the details. Let us know. Is it for Yahoo? Is it for FanDuel? Is it for DraftKings? Is it for cash? Is it tournaments? Is it for a single entry? More details, the better. It's super helpful. We'll do our best to answer as many questions as possible at the end of the show. And you're probably going to see Devin showing off a lot of our tools here at Rotogrinders. You want to use those tools at your own leisure? Get yourself $10 off the first month. You can get just basketball if you want just basketball, or you can get all the sports: football, baseball, basketball, hockey, golf, MMA, all the good stuff. CSGO, you can get that data as well too. Everything with the exception of NASCAR. NASCAR is a la carte, $10 off. All right, let's do it. Let's dive in. Indiana, Washington. Let's talk about the game right out the gate. We talked about the Beal injury. We'll kind of elaborate a little bit more. 228, pretty big total. It's high and it's tight. Washington just a 1-point favorite right now. So yeah, what else do we want to add as far as the Washington side? Like, Kuzma's a phenomenal play. Dinwiddie, even if he plays 30 minutes, should still be good. He should still get there. We saw Gafford and Harrell. They're both good fantasy minute players. First game, they chopped to 48, essentially. That's what they're going to do.
And let me say this.
One guy's off.
I am going to toot my own horn. If you were on crunch time for their first game, I told everybody, Montrezl Harrell is 3,700. You need to get on the train. The guy goes out and cranks out 30. Anyway, that's just me tooting my own horn. Just want to take that little small victory lap. All right, back to you, D.
Yeah, no, what else do you have as far as Washington? Like, Hollow Neto is probably going to get some run. Again, it's a 10-game slate. I don't know how much you need a Hollow Neto, but he's there. And he's not even still minimum on DK. Well, this is FanDuel, he's 4K. I'm not sure what his DK price is right now. I don't have it up in front of me. But, stuff's going to open up with the absence of Beal. Of course, Hachimura's, injured. Of course, Westbrook is not there anymore. They're projected to score 114 points. And just look at these. How are they going to get there? You got to think that Kuzma is going to shoot a pile, and Dinwiddie's got the ball in his hands a ton as well. So, yeah, they're really strong plays. Indiana not necessarily known for the defensive prowess either. What do you want to add there? And you jump to the Indiana side as well too, which we're kind of sort of up in the air. We talked about some of the questionable guys. Sabonis just smashes. Brogdon is really, really good too. Washington, not a great defensive team. Yeah. What do you have as far as Indiana? I will say Duarte crushed his first game. They bumped his price up pretty heavily, and he also was super efficient. So I'm not chasing that, basically. I think he on Yahoo, he's $11. He's a good play on Yahoo, $1 above the floor. Anywhere else, I'm not playing him. What do you have for as far as this game?
I think one of my top plays, again, I'm going right back to Montrezl Harrell. And it's a combination of reasons. The first thing is I'm looking at the guy took 11 shots in his first game. Did get to the free throw line, picked up 9 rebounds. He's just active, right? I think he fits in with a team that's kind of going to run a little bit. And we know Washington, at least, from last season, they're going to run. I do think they're pulling back a little bit, but all in all, I think they're going to run. Another guy, Kyle Kuzma, shot 4 of 13, 2 of 9 from 3 in that first game. I mean, I don't expect him to shoot, 22% from 3 today. At least I hope not. I'm hoping he can get closer to 40% today. So we've got Kuzma there. Denny FD, I think, had some value. Maybe he plays 25 minutes at 3,600. So, he's a guy that I like as well. Don't hate Daniel Gafford. He only played 22 minutes. But the reason he got there was stocks, right? And I need to see more than that if I want to invest. And I do think Gafford has the upside. I don't want to say that. I do think he has the upside, but I'm more interested in Montrezl Harrell. And then, Spencer Dinwiddie, we don't have to tell you that. He only took 10 shots, played 26 minutes. They did blow out Toronto for what it's worth. Like, Toronto was just struggling that game. So I think Dinwiddie can get to 30 minutes here. I definitely think he can get there. Kuzma played 34 minutes. No Bradley Beal. I think they need Dinwiddie a little bit more, right? A game's out of hand. No need to push a guy coming back from a major injury. I do think if the game's tight today, that they'll be able to get it done. So those are kind of my guys from Washington. On the Indiana side, I mean, Sabonis is 9K. I mean, he should be 10K in this spot. He really should. And so at 9K, I think if you're thinking about the game stack angle, I'm absolutely in on that. He's one of my favorite plays. What are we going to do with Miles Turner? I think I'm just going to pass. I do think this is a spot for him to have a big game, but I think I'm just going to pass. And then we've got Malcolm Brogdon at 7,500. Now, he played 40 minutes against Charlotte, and they needed him because, Charlotte was down, came back. My boy LaMelo put on a legendary performance, but he took 20 shots in that game. If we're going to get a 20-shot Malcolm Brogdon, he had 11 assists, 4 rebounds. I don't think a lot of people are going to be on Malcolm Brogdon today. I like him a lot at 75.
But I do think it's possible. You talk about the center situation there. Can you see Gafford and Harrell flipping the minutes? Like maybe all of a sudden now it's Harrell with 22 and Gafford with 26. I feel like that's going to kind of jump back and forth.
I think Harrell has his role. Even the other day we were on Crunch Time, I figured Harrell will play about 25 minutes. Those are my thoughts. Yeah, I think he's going to play 25 minutes a game. Like I don't think that's going to fluctuate too much. Maybe 24 minutes, maybe 26 minutes, but I think he's in my opinion, I think they probably got him pegged around that 25-minute mark.
Next game, New York versus Orlando. 213 is the total. New York's an 8-point favorite. This is kind of a snoozer from a DFS perspective. Orlando's not a good team. They have a bunch of dudes that are injured. I didn't run them off because they're just injured for a while, but they only have, I think, maybe 10 or 12 guys, 10, 11 guys that are trusting. But New York plays slow. They're a good defensive team. One of the lowest team totals on the board. Cole Anthony's kind of cheap in some places. He's at 4.9 on FanDuel, which is kind of interesting. Franz Wagner is really cheap, but I can't get excited about it. But I will say, like, Jalen Suggs, the rookie, is his best position. Most talented. I like Bamba as well in tournaments because Bamba really can get it going, especially on FanDuel when those stocks matter. But 10-game slate, bad matchup, whatever. But I do like Suggs, especially as a cheapie on DK, where I believe he's 4K over there.
Yeah, I don't think Suggs is bad. He played 30 minutes, didn't really do much, but he took 14 shots. See, and this is the thing too, Dean. I think we have to realize early in the season, sometimes you just literally, for all you Parks and Rec fans out there, have to go right back to the well, right? So, for instance, Jaylen Brown is a guy that just came out of the season. Just hot, right? Just scorching hot, off the COVID list, barely missing shots, and Jason Tatum has a bad game, just very inefficient. What are the chances that Jason Tatum doesn't perform well today? 30%. Okay, let's go with that. But I think Jason Tatum's a guy that'll pick it up, right? I'm saying that because Jalen Suggs shot 3 for 14. I don't think he shoots 3 for 14 today. And so at 13 fantasy points, you think he hits 3 more shots, that's already going to take him above 20. Or get him close, rather. And my assumption is one or two of those would be threes because he shot 6 of them. So you see what I'm saying? It's just trying to kind of do the math and say, okay, he gets another 6 shots, hit 2 threes. That's another 7 points. Okay, now he's over 20. He's fine, right? So that's why I bring it up with Jalen Suggs. What I will say is in this particular game, I'm not really too interested in anyone from Orlando. I'm very interested in Julius Randle and Mitch Rob. I think Randle at 8,500 is a little bit too cheap here. I think Randle is a guy that can put up 50. And so, I know he played 46 minutes in this Boston game. That actually for overtime, yeah. That actually might help us because maybe they're a little sluggish and Orlando can keep up, which forces him to play another 36, 37 minutes, which is going to help his fantasy production. So I like that. And then Mitch Rob, I think Mitch Rob is a guy until he hits maybe 6,500, as long as Noel and Taj Gibson are out, we just keep playing him until he's that price. He's 5,600. He's another guy that typically consistently gets blocks. I'm not going to say stocks. He pretty much consistently gets blocks, right? 2 to 3 a lot of times. And look, he's going to have a game where he get any, but I'm saying he picked up 2 last game. I think he can pick up a few more. Had 11 points. More importantly, had 17 rebounds. I definitely think he's going to get a block or 2 and some rebounds. Can he get 10 points and get that double-double bonus? I definitely think it's in the cards. Mitch Robinson is somebody I really like on this slate. Him and Randall together, I wouldn't mind doing that any day of the week at these prices.
My only issue with that is a 10-game slate and center is really, really strong. You mentioned Sabonis. We'll talk about Jokic and Embiid if he goes. Vuka's pretty cheap. Robert Williams in that same game played 45 minutes. We've never seen that ever out of him. Double overtime, a 35 in regulation, and his price hasn't fully adjusted just yet. I'm sure there's.
Well, you know why you haven't seen it?
Well, why new coach?
Exactly. Brad Stevens isn't coaching this team anymore.
He's still lurking, but yeah, I hear what you're saying. He's still
he
there.
Isn't coaching. He's lurking. He's not coaching. He's in the office somewhere.
Yeah.
At any rate, yeah. So, but yeah, that's why I like these guys. But look, we say center is loaded, and it is. But Mitch Rob is also 5,600. He's not 10K.
All right, let's move on. Is there anything else you have to say about that game? I'm not really interested in playing Fournier or Kemba or Rose or any of these guys in a 10-gamer. It's not for me.
No, not playing any of those guys. I do fully expect Kemba Walker to drop like a 50-piece randomly at 6,400 at some point, and nobody's going to see it coming except me, hopefully. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Let's talk about
speaking of which, sorry. What I'm going to try to do, Dean, is integrate my Prize Picks investments into the games that I'm already on. And so that way I don't have to go, we don't have to take a segment. I can just do it. On Prize Picks earlier today, Mitchell Robinson was at 25 fantasy points. That's FanDuel scoring. I took the over immediately. I was hammering it. I have Mitch Robin pretty much every build I have on Prize Picks. If he's still at 25 fantasy points, you need to get over there now. And let me check. I do want to check that.
He's good at FanDuel scoring. It's
correct. He gets four blocks. That's 12 points. He's not going to have a whole lot of turnovers unless it's an offensive foul, which should be far few and in between. So I did want to put that out there. And Mitch Robinson still at 25 fantasy points. This is unbelievable. Get over there now, people. Now.
Indiana, all three guys that we're monitoring, they're all going to play. They're all available to play. Torrey Craig, Jeremy Lamb, and Justin Holiday, all expected to play. So maybe they run, a 9-man rotation or something like that in Indiana tonight. So, whatever. If you're thinking of the peripheral guys, you're thinking of a guy like Jeremy Lamb is really cheap, by the way. If you need the salary, he's an interesting little punt. I don't hate him.
Yes.
It is obviously 10 games. So I got to keep saying that. You can only play so many guys. All right, Charlotte, Cleveland, 225.5 is the total.
Let me say this. Sorry, Quentin Mayo, and this is a verified account. He did say it would not surprise him if Aaron Holiday got the start in Brad's place.
I can see that.
This is one of the beat writers. So I did want to point that out. Like he's verified, works for NBC Sports, said it wouldn't surprise him at all. So there it is.
That's what we have right now. We have him currently projected. I'm not official starters. We currently have Holiday projecting the start. Holiday, Dinwiddie, KCP, Kuzma, and Gafford. All right. Charlotte, Cleveland, 226 is the total. Your Charlotte Hornets are 3-point favorites. LaMelo absolutely went insane in game one. He looked so good.
We needed every bit of that insanity, Dean. Every bit of it.
You know what else would have helped you is if LaMelo played more than 29 minutes. What up with that? Like, why is he playing 29 minutes? And Rozier's not playing.
James Borrego. That's your answer. Do you know who James Borrego used to coach for or with?
Pop?
Exactly. How did you know? How did you know? Jesus, man. And meanwhile, Miles Bridges played 33 minutes. Get out of here.
And Gordon Hayward played 35, and Hayward was supposed to be on a minutes limit.
And he was supposed to be on a minutes limit, Dean. What is happening?
But that's the thing. Jaylen Brown was on a minutes limit too, but he was playing so good they just let him go. Like that's how that goes sometimes. You got to make coaching adjustments on the fly. LaMelo is still a great play. Cleveland is a horrific defense. One of the bottom 5 teams in the league. I'm probably being generous by extending it to 5. But I don't know what else I like besides LaMelo. And LaMelo is not even like a premier piece on this slate. Awesome tournament play. He's not in your cash game build. He just doesn't fit there, just the way that the slate kind of shakes down. What are your thoughts here as far as Charlotte? And of course, Rozier is back. How much does that muck things up? I don't think it hurts Ball too much. And Ball's going to play more than 29 minutes. Like they make sure of this tonight, right? I assume.
No, I don't, Dean. I cannot guarantee you that LaMelo Ball is going to play more than 30 minutes. James Borrego has been doing this since he's been there. This isn't anything new. What I will say is, as you can see, he got it done in limited fashion, in limited minutes. But we can't always rely on that. I do still think he has an okay game because he's facing the Cleveland Cavaliers. Terry Rozier at 6,800. Don't really want to go there. Gordon Hayward, 7K. Don't really want to go there. Miles Bridges, 6,800. I think this team is overpriced for the production we're going to get. PJ Washington, 6,300. He played 19 minutes. I think everybody's just overpriced here. So I'm kind of off the Hornets. But Prize Picks play number 2 has come up in this game. And we're going to have 2 of them. I'm just going to give you one because we're on the Charlotte side. And that's Miles Bridges under 15.5 real points. I think he got down to 15. I take the under on that as well. Nothing against Miles Bridges. Do I think he can score 15 points from time to time? Yes. But I think we have a lot of mouths to feed in Charlotte now. And so, and I'm not expecting him to play 32 minutes tonight. Not with Rozier back. I think the rotation is going to be a little different. So I'm expecting him to play more like 25 to 28 minutes, which should limit the upside.
The Cleveland side, we still have Garland questionable. If he doesn't play, Rubio would get a bump. I don't know how much I need Rubio, but he's going to gather more minutes, I suppose. They even jump the starting rotation. We shall see. They just don't have a lot of guard depth in general. Mobley played 38 minutes, which is really promising. Like, why not? Just roll him out there and see what you got in the rookie. That's really the only thing I think that's interesting on Cleveland for me. Talk to me as far as those guys. Any thoughts as far as Cleveland?
Yeah, the one thing I like from Cleveland is going to be another Prize Picks play, and that's going to be Colin Sexton over 1.5 3-pointers. We got torched, and we've been getting torched for the past couple seasons at the 3-point line. I went to a Charlotte game last year, saw Nikola Vucevic, folks, light us up from 3 in the pick and pop game. Look at the Indiana game. I mean, Sabonis was hitting threes. Brogdon, Duarte, everybody were getting lit up at the 3-point line. It's because of the style of play, the style of defense we play. I've watched the rotations. People are going to be open all over the place. Colin Sexton should be able to hit 2 3-pointers against my beloved Charlotte Hornets, and they'll still lose the game. So that's Cleveland, not Charlotte. At any rate, I think if I was interested in anybody, it'd probably be Jared Allen. I know he only played about 28 minutes. But let's see if he's going to get close to 30 minutes every game, right? Let's test the waters now while he's 6,600 versus missing out on another 45-point performance, and then he's up to 7,500. So I do have some interest in Jared Allen.
Yeah, and again, if Garland is out, Sexton gets a bit of a bump. He could play 37, 38 minutes. Wouldn't surprise me. And again, Mobley, if he's going to play those minutes going forward, he's certainly worth keeping an eye on. All right, let's move on. 10-game slates. I got to keep saying that now. They're making fun of me in the chat for saying that too much. Drink every time we say 10-game slate. Brooklyn, Philadelphia. This is an ESPN game, the first half of the doubleheader for them. 226 is the total. Brooklyn is a 3-point favorite. Embiid is questionable. Again, I thought he was going to play. My best guess is he plays, but he did have a big old wrap on, so we'll see how that goes down. I assume he makes the game for ESPN, and with the whole Ben Simmons stuff going on and Kyrie on the other side not playing, I think he shows up this one. I love him for tournaments. If he doesn't play, of course, Andre Drummond becomes super, super interesting and becomes a solid value. One more center. That's what we need in this slate. Maxey looked pretty solid in game one. His minutes have played relatively solidified. And of course, Tobias Harris really, really solid as well too in this game. And the Harden price on DK is goofy. He's just too cheap. That's like, he's one of the best guards, best plays in the slate, 9.4K for Harden with the absence of Irving, and Durant's pretty solid as well too, but I'll take Harden over Durant, but I like them both. Claxton, kind of surprised me to the start in the first game, and they were doing their best to make that PNR work. If you were watching that with Harden and Claxton, it failed many times. They finally made it work, and Harden took a big old exhale. We're going to see a bunch of different guys in this rotation. As far as Brooklyn, we saw Bruce Brown not play until garbage time. I just don't really care about all these peripheral pieces. Like LMA looks like he's absolute dust. Blake's whatever. It's only about the studs for me in the Brooklyn side and on this kind of size slate. I didn't say 10 game, but like we don't have to dig in. Claxton's kind of sort of someone interesting if they get that going, but again, there's an opportunity cost. Your thoughts as far as both sides of this game?
Harden's in play, Durant's in play, big time. 9,300, 9,400. I was watching the game the other night, and Stan Van Gundy said, boy, Kevin Durant's not really having a good game, not as efficient as he usually is. Let's pull up the numbers from the other game.
Oh, you're calling out Stan Van Gundy.
13 for 25, shot 52% from the field. He shot 43% from 3-point range. And he's telling us, man, KD's just not as efficient as he usually is today. Sir, you need to be off the air. Stop it. Stop it. Had 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 32 points. I think sometimes, the old school guys they use the eye test too much. I'm sure they had the stats down on the computer, on a piece of paper somewhere, probably on a computer feed, where you could have looked down and seen the actual efficiency. What was he talking about, Dean? Do you see these numbers?
Was it a different point in the game? I don't know when he said
no,
it. I was watching it, but I don't remember when.
No. I'm not giving Stan Van Gundy a pass with that.
I'm a Stan guy, so I'm a Heat guy.
At any rate, so ladies and gentlemen, it looks like Dean has frozen. I'm going to have to take over the feed, lead and guide the ship through the rest of this thing on this 10-game slate. That was pouring one out for Dean. At any rate, KD and James Harden are going to be the top 2 targets here. If you believe in the Patty Mills performance in terms of the minutes, I do think he's a guy that you can get on. No, he's not going to shoot 7 for 7 from 3, but I absolutely think he's a guy that they're going to use because judging by this roster, they are going to need him to score some points. Blake didn't have a great game. LaMarcus didn't have a great game. They're just so old on the inside. I think if they're going to win games, it's going to be with guard play. And so I am expecting, Patty Mills to continue to play well. The question is, do you think he puts up 30? Do you think he puts up 25? He's not the best value on the slate. But I do think he still has some value because I think they're going to have to lean on him to score. On the Philadelphia side, we got Tyrese Maxey at 5,300, played 33 minutes, did play some of that in garbage time and picked up a few extra fantasy points. At any rate, I still think for the minutes, he's absolutely fine. We've got Tobias Harris at 7,200, blowout game, 27 minutes, put up 41 fantasy points. This is a guy that I think is a value. I am expecting this game to be a lot more competitive than the game we saw before with Brooklyn facing Milwaukee. So I think Tobias at 72 is definitely viable. And then, of course, Joel Embiid should absolutely dominate Nick Claxton, has the weight advantage, the skill advantage. However, if Embiid were to sit, no secret here, Andre Drummond at 5,500 is absolutely your play. Wild card play of the day, if you want to go ahead and get on this now on Prize Picks, Andre Drummond is at 20 fantasy points. I think that prop is fine either way to take the over, but I do think that's probably one of the better speculative props on the day because if Joel Embiid were to sit or perhaps play in the game and have to be limited, then I think you're going to see a little bit more Andre Drummond. I think he can go over that with ease. So that's where we're at with the Brooklyn and the Philly game. What I'm going to ask you guys to do is bear with me. I'm going to try to go through these games until Dean hops back in. I'm going to be trying to follow the tweet feed here and just make sure I'm up to date. Looks like Al Horford is going to start. Smart, Brown, Tatum, Horford, Robert Williams on Friday. So looking like we're going to be in good shape. Josh Richardson is also going to be available. Had a migraine, didn't play the first game of the season. Let's hop back in. Toronto, Boston. I'm going to start on the Toronto side here. Clearly Boston is the favorite, but however, I do think there's some valuable pieces. Goran Dragic, right, played 21 minutes against Washington, and while I do think that seems a bit weird in my opinion, I'm kind of going to throw that game out. It was a blowout at 4,800. I think if this game is competitive, I feel like Goran Dragic has a really big game here. I think Fred VanVleet is a little bit too cheap at 6,900. Yes, they are playing the Boston Celtics, but I think this is a price overreaction based on the fact that they got blown out by the Washington Wizards. They actually just had a bad shooting game. If you pull up these numbers for OG Anunoby, he shot 3 for 17 from the field, 2 of 9 from 3. I gotta think these types of numbers pick up. If they were hitting more shots early, I definitely think the game would have been more competitive. If you look at Freddie VanVleet, shot 5 of 20 from the field, 1 of 9 from three-point range. That was an inefficient game. I'm expecting this thing to come back, regress back to the norm in this one. So I'm really excited. I think the Toronto Raptors provide exceptional value on this slate. Scotty Barnes, OG, Fred VanVleet, Dragic. I like all these guys. Not as high on Precious today, just because I think, like we've talked about before, so much other center value. But this, outside of that, OG, Scotty, Fred VanVleet, Goran Dragic, fantastic prices on DraftKings. Looks like we've got Dean back in the building. Dean, welcome.
Yeah, there's so much value because it's a 10-game slate. I don't know if you thought to the people. You got to remind that to the people. A lot of games going down. And I'm just glad I missed the Toronto analysis because I'm still tilted about. I was very heavily on FEV and Anunoby, and it was kind of a rough go. But yeah, FEV price on DK is super interesting for sure. Have you talked about Boston yet? Are you ready to move on?
No, have not discussed Boston at all. Just talked about Toronto.
All right.
And of course, Dean, like I said, we've been handing out the Prize Picks investments as we go along. I took this one the other night with OG over 32 fantasy points. He ended with 30 on a 3 for 19 shooting night, a 3 for 17. Ended with 30, Dean, 30 fantasy points. Today's at 31, taking the over again. He's not going to be this inefficient. I'm expecting him to score, 20 to 25 real points. I really am. So I'm in on OG. I think you go right back to the well on that one. Last I checked, the line was 31. I'm taking the over because of the inefficient night. Still almost got there in a really rough game.
So, Chief, we extended crunch time this year. If you guys are premium members, one of the things you get, of course, if y'all are unaware, we talked about the promo earlier, $10 off your first month. It's 10 minutes earlier. It goes on now at 6:20, which means we have to get off the air 10 minutes earlier, which means we only have like 16 minutes left. So the point is, we got to be in lightning round because we want to bring Devin as well to get the questions to the chat also. So we got to stay on task, and then that's hard for me to do. But we'll do our best to keep this on a really, really quick pace. Robert Williams, you talked about him playing 35 minutes, just phenomenal. Super, super interesting play today. If you want to pay up for Brown, by all means, Tatum, by all means. But I'm not necessarily focusing on them. I think Williams is the best play on the Boston side.
I think the Williams brothers are the best plays on the Boston side. I mentioned this on Crunch Time, Dean.
Grant Williams?
Were we going to?
Oh, Horford's playing and starting.
Never mind. I knew that. I said that I did say that to the people. Scratch that, people. I forgot just that quick. I told them the starting lineup, Dean. I said Horford was playing, and then I went and wanted to talk about Grant Williams. We're not playing Grant Williams today, but we are playing Rob Williams.
He might lose a couple minutes with Horford being back. I would say that. Obviously, don't expect the 45 minutes, but 35 is really promising. But even if he plays 30 or 29 or 28, he's a really strong fantasy point minute player. He's still really solid. The price is not fully adjusted. New Orleans, Chicago, 222.5 is the total. New Orleans is a 6-point dog here. Nope. Yeah, 6-point dog here. Yeah, your thoughts as far as on the New Orleans side? I think Nah is the most appealing play. Alexander Walker, and maybe Ingram. And of course, Valanciunas specific to FanDuel's got a really strong price over there. Your thoughts?
Yeah, man. Brandon Ingram is always a favorite of mine with no Zion Williamson. So he's a guy I like to roll out at 7,500. I think he's a big time play for me. I think we're good there. Nickeil Alexander-Walker played 34 minutes. He's 6,500. I'm not as interested. I mean, I think I need about 500 off of that price tag at 6,500. I think I can get slightly better value. Devontae Graham played 30 minutes in this game against Philly. I actually think he's still got some value at 5,500. He's a guy that can go out and put up 35 fantasy points. So he's a guy that I really like. Outside of that, though, and you talk about JV. I mean, I like JV anytime. And today he's going to have a big center. Vooch will stretch him sometimes right to the 3-point line, but all in all, I do think, both of these guys will be on the floor together. So do like Devontae. I think he's a great play at 5,500. Love Brandon Ingram at 75.
The Chicago side, we have an instant revenge game for Lonzo Ball, but I'm not super excited about it. Whatever, you can play it. Vuk, you mentioned his price is really appealing on DK. He tends to play better against smaller centers. Valanciunas is not a smaller center. He's got plenty of girth, but doesn't mean you can't play him. Levine always in play, but there's nothing really jumping off the page for me on the Chicago side. Vuk on DK, I do like that price, but otherwise it's just they're fine, but not priorities.
Yeah, I think this is a team we're going to have to feel out throughout the season until they kind of get in a groove, right? And so I think, court IQ is going to be our friend the next couple of weeks, especially with this team, because they've got Ball, DeRozan, Levine, Vooch. These guys should be eating up most of the production for this team all the time. So I'm with you. But Vooch is, too cheap, fantastic play.
We have a game 2 tankathon right out the gate. This is the game that might point to as far as end of the season. OKC versus Houston, 220 is the total. Houston's a 3-point favorite. Two bad teams. SGA, it was a tough matchup versus Utah. I kind of expected they got walloped, but this is a game he should be able to handle in theory. I don't know really who's going to shut him down, and his price on DK is pretty egregious. I love him at 6.7K. KPJ on the other side, Kevin Porter Jr., pretty interesting on FanDuel. Don't mind him, but Dort is a pretty solid defender, worth noting. But I don't know who in the world is going to shut down Christian Wood. Love him on the Houston side. You can play the rookie Giddey as well. Don't mind him as a cheapie, but that's Jalen Green, another rookie too, on Houston's kind of sort of someone interesting. Pretty straightforward as far as this game for me. Those are the key pieces. What are your thoughts?
I had to unmute myself. Didn't want to make a rookie mistake there. Those are the key pieces. I do like SGA though, man. I think SGA is borderline a lot button on DK at 67. Seriously,
really strong play.
Honestly, I think I would hit the lock button. to be honest. I think he's lock button on DK. If I'm running 150 lineups, I think he's in it. Yeah.
Point guard only. I wish he was, a G across the board.
I actually like point guard only for him. Like just because I don't have to have him floating around. I just know I've got him in there, and then the other point guard, shooting guard, just be mixed around in the guard, shooting guard spot. But hey, that's just me. Not really interested in anybody else from OKC. Just SGA. And then I do think in this game, Kevin Porter Jr., is he overpriced? Yes. Do I think he can still get there in this spot? Yes. So I did want to put that out there. Christian Wood, 7,100. I mean, I think that's too cheap for his upside.
Yeah, I like him a good bit. It's a good price there on DK. San Antonio, Denver, 220.5 is the total. Denver is an 8-point favorite. Jokic is going to be kind of, sort of, somewhat lost in this slate as much as he can be. Just a phenomenal play. Nobody can shut him down, obviously. The absence of Murray, plenty of usage going his way. MPJ, same sort of deal. Barton is going to run the second unit to some extent, but I don't know how much I'm going to get there in this slate. Don't really love this game. The San Antonio side, White is still pretty cheap. Murray is still good. It was strange to see Rat Dad Young just got no run, just a DMP-CD. Doesn't really matter so much. It's interesting that he was chosen not to play for whatever reason. San Antonio, just in general, not excited, but White is still pretty cheap, and Murray can always get there. But overall, this game, not terribly enthused. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, man. I think I'm kind of in the same spot with you. I did like the fact that Jakob Poeltl played about 30 minutes in that game. And so I think if we're going to get 30 minutes Jakob Poeltl, I am interested at 5,700. I think you'll see a theme here, Dean, of my type of lineup construction tonight. And it's basically pivoting off the middle of the road or expensive chalk centers and going with some of these other cheaper centers that can get me 40, right? And so Poeltl and guys like Mitch Robb, I really like those guys tonight. But yeah, all in all, I think that's where I'm at. And then Michael Porter Jr. at 6,300. I think that's a little bit too cheap. I know I'm trying to speed up the pace of D so we can kind of get through it. Yeah, those are kind of the guys that I'm on. Don't hate Will Barton as well. But from San Antonio, Jakob Poeltl is actually my favorite play, absolute favorite play. And then from Denver, it will be Michael Porter and Will Barton. Those would be two of my favorites. Don't hate Jokic. He could absolutely crush in any spot. Yeah. Those value guys are my favorites.
Utah, Sacramento, 226.5 is a total. Utah is just like the same old team as always. When everybody's healthy, they're all kind of sort of somewhat fine. This matchup is good against Sacramento, but they all sort of have their roles and they're all kind of sort of priced for their roles. Gobert on Yahoo's got a pretty good price. I'll say that. But I mean, I'm not playing Mitchell at 8.7K. Like, can he get there? Of course he can. The Sacramento side, Fox. I mean, this feels like a game that they're going to get up for. Like, they're, in theory, it's supposed to be up for all of them. But, at home versus a legitimate team there. I think it's their home opener. They did win the first game of the season. Of note is Harkless being questionable. Like, you're not going to play Harkless either way, but they play a pretty tight rotation. So that'll kind of, solidify things even more. We saw Harry Barnes go off in game one. I'm not chasing that. Like, good for him, but that was a ceiling game. There was a quote that Luke Walton wanted to shoot 8 threes per game, which is interesting. We could see a Fox ceiling game, and he's going to be mostly neglected. I don't mind him in tournaments, but for the most part, I'm mostly ignoring this game. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I do think Bogdan Bogdanovic has some value at 5,600. Like, that's long shot contrarian play, a guy that can kind of light it up. Royce O'Neal.
You threw me off for a second because Bogdan played for
I said Bogdan. I meant Bojan. Excuse me, guys. Sorry about that. I do think Royce O'Neal has some value in these type of spots. Not a guy that I'm just rushing to play now, but he's one of those guys you kind of filter into your player pool because he's got some stocks and rebound upside in these type of spots against a team like Sacramento. Like, he's a guy at the end of the night you can look and he can have 38 fantasy points. You go, what? But he's playing Sacramento. So you just kind of consider it, right? He's not necessary, but at this type of ownership in this spot, you consider it. De'Aaron Fox at 84, I definitely think is okay. But all in all, I'm with you. I'm not really touching this game.
Phoenix, it's interesting for tournaments, like extreme, like big contest tournaments, like not single entry, but yeah, it's certainly an interesting thing to look at. Phoenix and the Lakers, 221.5 is the total. Lakers are 1-point favorites here. This feels like a game it's better to watch than to play from a DFS perspective. Phoenix is kind of sort of like Utah. They play their guys, and everybody's just kind of priced appropriately. they're okay. The Lakers are really thin. After LeBron and Davis, it gets ugly really fast. Westbrook rough in game one. The price is not adjusted. And he wasn't handling the ball a ton, didn't look good, was missing threes, shocker. I just don't know, man. They played LeBron so many minutes with 38 minutes. Game one, Davis a ton of minutes too. I guess it's one of those games where you can always play LeBron, who looked great, by the way. He looked fabulous. He's 36 years old. It's incredible what he's doing in year 19. We're going to bring Devin on in a second, but I want to give you like 30 seconds or a minute. We want to knock those questions out from Devin, but what are your thoughts as far as this game?
Maybe DeAndre Ayton might be a little bit too cheap for his upside. All in all, I mean, LeBron's 91, AD's 89, and Russell Westbrook's 86. I got to think they try to give Russell Westbrook some rope to see if he can figure this thing out with those guys. I think Russell Westbrook, LeBron, and AD are big-time tournament plays. Not together, separately. And this would be one of the 150 lineup bills, right? Because at the end of the night, it's like, come on, who's playing Russell Westbrook? But he's 8,600. And we know he's got 60-point upside. You take a chance, right? That's what you do. You use one of those lottery tickets on Russell, or a portion of those lottery tickets on Russell Westbrook. LeBron and AD look like, after one game, because DFS and the media, we're overreacting these days. We look and see the first game and say, oh, it's AD and LeBron show. Well, Russell Westbrook could very well come out and put up a LeBron stat, or put up 15 points, 10 rebounds, 12 assists, and voila, he's right back up to 55, 60 fantasy points. I think you get exposure to all these guys in tournaments. And I'm going to go on record and say, I can't tell you which guy is going to be the guy. We feel like it's LeBron, but it very well could be, let's let Russell Westbrook get in a flow with us, and then they kind of let him run the show.
Do want to mention, if you guys are playing football this weekend, of RG Premium, you can get yourself 5 free days of RG Premium. The note here is that it will auto-convert to a monthly subscription at the end of 5 days. So if you do not want it, please make sure you cancel. But get yourself 5 days, cancel money if you don't want it. There you go. That's less than 5 days, right? There you go. All right, bring on Devin. Devin, I promise we're going to save more time for you. It's a 10-game slate. Not sure if you know this.
I don't have a drink, Dean. I don't have a drink, Dean.
Yeah, well, you can do hand it or something like that. But yeah, so going forward, plenty of time for questions. 5-game slates and 7-game slates and 4-game slates, whatever it is. But what do you have for us before we step aside and make way for crunch time?
I'll believe it when I see it, Dean.
I make empty promises.
Yeah, let's hit the lightning round. We got 2.5 minutes here. Cody, DK tournament, Kuzma or Dinwiddie, or neither?
Both.
They're both really good plays.
Secret answer C. Or I guess it would be
I prefer
D.
Kuzma over Dinwiddie, though, if you're gonna force me on one.
All right. Eric wants to know DK tournament. Going for the center special. Joval, thoughts on him?
I prefer much more in Vandal, but the ownership's going to reflect that.
Let's just do this because he has a couple of center questions in there. Let's combine it. If you could rank these 3, Joval, Gobert, and Wood.
Wood's 1 for me. Will?
Yeah.
All right.
Nailed it.
And then it was Gobert. Who's the other one?
Joval, Gobert, and Wood.
It depends if you're running it back. If I'm going to play Gobert, I'm going to run it back with somebody in the Kings. Like that, I would run it back with Fox or something like that. But yeah, go ahead.
All right, Blaze in chat. FanDuel Cash. Who's a must with Beal out?
Dinwiddie.
Kuzma and Dinwiddie.
All right. Eric wants to
throw in Montrezl Harrell for me as well.
All right. Eric's trying
for
to make
cash. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, this is for cash. Yeah, just to specify. Eric wants to know, he's trying to make Caruso a thing. DK tournaments.
His price got moved up a little bit, and I like Caruso, but I just don't know how necessary he is. I believe we just saw Garland get ruled out.
Yes,
so that's interesting.
Rubio starting in his place.
Yeah. So, okay, that's interesting. Sexton's going to play a ton of minutes, and Rubio, I don't know how many minutes he can play, but Sexton could play, 35 to 40 minutes. That wouldn't shock me because they're thin. And I guess they want to win a game. Yeah. Sure, why not?
My wife must have heard me screaming. She just texted me, "Do you need a drink?" K-Mac in chat. FanDuel tournament. If Denver blows out San Antonio, which players are you going to be high on in that game?
I'm not playing any players in that game, assuming a blowout or whatever. Yeah, I'm not playing that sort of scenario.
All right.
I don't understand.
What about
nobody? I think the answer is nobody.
Nobody.
Like,
if you're expecting a blowout, you're fading them all.
Will, do you have a thought on that?
Like, oh no, I'm not really into that. If I'm gonna play, I'm not really playing anybody from Denver outside of those cheap guys, Porter and Will Barton. And then on the San Antonio side, my favorite player from there is the center.
Do you think ownership?
But if it's a blowout, Pirtle's not going to be getting run in the fourth quarter. So
he might still get 30 minutes. I'm not. He's cheap. He's not 7K. He's like 5,600, 57. Like, I don't mind still playing guys at those prices, even if I think it's going to be a blowout. If he was 6,500, I wouldn't even be thinking about it.
Is the prevailing notion that game's going to go into a blowout?
No, it's like a 6 or 7 point line.
Yeah, that's not too bad. Eric, FanDuel DK tournament, Harden or KD?
I prefer Harden, but the guard position is probably a little tougher to make work. So position matters too. What are your thoughts there, Will?
I like them both.
All right. Mark Flores in chat letting everybody know play LBJ and AD early in the season before they start to rest them, planting his flag on that.
There you go. Hey, this is Daily Fantasy Sports. We care about tonight.
We care about tonight and tonight only on this 10-game slate. K-Town's finest DK tournament low-owned player that's going to smash. Let's end there.
Ooh, low-owned player that's going to smash. What do you? I'll let Will go first.
I don't think this guy is going to be. God, I wanted to give out SGA, but he's too high owned. Give me kind of low owned. I'm going back to the well on this guy. Give me OG Anunoby. I'm telling you.
Nice.
I'm going to say like Embiid. If Embiid, people aren't going to be playing Embiid. He may not play. Stay tuned. Obviously, don't play him because he's rolled out. But people aren't playing him. Embiid. Go ahead.
As a little sauce packet to the chicken wings, Mitch Robb at 5,600. Good golly, Miss Molly.
You got to have the sauce with it. All right, Dean, take us home.
Thanks, Devin, for producing. Do subscribe, turn on notifications. It does help out the channel. We do. And thanks for participating and asking questions. Again, the question and answer session will be longer in shows going forward when we have less than you waited for it, 10 games. If you guys are premium members, stay tuned for Crunch Time. You got Andy Means. You got Kevin Roth taking you guys up to lock an extra 10 minutes for premium. That was Will. That was Devin. That was basketball. I was Dean. We're out of here. Out.